No, 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 not this fucking Geraldo Rivera and that goddamn mustache again. Let me tell you something. Before I even get into this, I've had to talk about Geraldo in the past, so my stories from 2013, there's a link below that'll take you to my blog, and you can go ahead and get links to those old stories about Geraldo from about 2 years ago that I wrote. But it's 2015, it's a new year, and new stupid shit is coming out of his mouth because that's just who Geraldo Rivera is. So sit back, relax, and check out this rant about this asshole named Geraldo. And the actual story that's in question, the Huffington Post interview that Geraldo Rivera did with them, where he mentioned hip-hop and racism, there's a link there at my blog that'll take you there too. And actually the whole about 30-minute video the video is actually posted on the meatmagazine.blogspot.com website. Meat Magazine on YouTube, meatmagazine.blogspot.com is the site. And without further ado, time to rip Geraldo. Look at me talking like a Puerto Rican. Time for me to rip Geraldo a new one. Maybe I shouldn't say that because he would probably like that, or at least that's just what I think. The racist machine that is Fox News never shuts down or lets up, and neither should we. Fox News puppet, New World Order toilet tissue, and military lapdog, Geraldo Rivera had the mustache and the nerve to sit down with Huffington Post and fix his lying lips to claim, well, hell. Just read the title of the article for yourself, or rather, I'll read it to you. Geraldo Rivera, hip-hop has done more damage to black and brown people than racism in the last 10 years. Now, this title will go over most people's heads, so let me just say this. He said black and brown people. I think that's really interesting because it sounds like Geraldo believes in something called the caste system. I would strongly suggest you look up the caste system for yourself if you don't know what that is. A C-A-S-T-E. And you can also look up the casta painting, C-A-S-T-A. It's a Spanish word, and you can find out about it for yourself. But essentially, the caste system was the different ethnicities of people, depending on what a person was mixed with, decided where they would be placed in society based off the color of their skin. And I think it's funny because Hispanic people aren't brown, so-called black people are. But the reason why so-called black people are called black is because black is darker than brown. And despite the fact that Hispanic is not a race, it's a culture and an ethnicity, Hispanics are just as white. Some of them have even more European ancestry than a lot of these Caucasian people here in America, rather in North America. However, they're considered to be less than white because of the caste system. But that's neither here nor there. You can just research it for yourself if you really care about that. But him saying black and brown is a subliminal hit. It'll go over a lot of people's heads. But anyway, the exact quote that caused a lot of controversy and pissed a lot of people off was, and I quote, these were Geraldo's words in the interview, quote, "Hip-hop has done more damage to black and brown people than racism in the last 10 years, Rivera began. The Fox News contributor then challenged anyone to find, quote, a youngster, a Puerto Rican from the South Bronx, or a black kid from Harlem who has succeeded in life other than being the 1/10 of 1% that make it in the music business, that's been a success in life, walking around with his pants around his ass with visible tattoos," end quote. Jeez Louise, where do I even begin? Here we go with classes and people being put in their place again. It's interesting he used the example of a so-called black person being from Harlem and a Puerto Rican would, of course, come from the South Bronx, like Jennifer Lopez. Everybody stay in your place here. Before I even discuss these stupid comments Geraldo made about pants around asses, I just wanted to point out something that just went over nearly everyone's head who heard this controversial quote from the interview. I have to stop and explain something he just did here. Did you notice that how he just threw out a non-existent statistic in there? He said 1/10 of 1%, which was, of course, a complete fabrication. Why is this point so important, you ask, right? Well, fake statistics are a hallmark of racist white supremacist shtick, because a statistic is supposed to derive from academic studies and have been researched without bias or prejudice and merely used to determine and express, quote, scientific fact. Well, at least that's how people in America have been forced to believe a statistic works. In reality, white supremacists frequently make up statistics off of the top of their heads as they go along to support their hidden and sometimes overt agendas, and we need to call them out on it. For example, I watched a YouTube video around the time where Trayvon Martin got murdered by that thug George Zimmerman, and in the video, when the man was talking about Trayvon Martin, he claimed to be a minister or pastor, so he shouldn't be lying, but sorry, I don't remember his name, the YouTube video channel, but if I find that video, I will post the video on my blog. Anyway, he said that 99% of the time when you see a black man wearing a hooded sweatshirt, he either just committed a crime or was about to commit one. And then went on to claim, quote, that's a fact. And yes, someone actually said this. The man was obviously a racist. He made up a non-existent statistic on the fly to shut up anyone who dared to call him out for being a lying bigot, and made sure to reiterate that bullshit was, quote, a fact. Now back to Geraldo. I love the way racist people such as Geraldo love to use the whole, let me get on my nasally white bigot voice.
It's not that we don't like you black people. It's not that we don't like you. It's just the way you dress. And if you didn't present yourself like this, we will like you as much as we like ourselves. Hell, maybe we'd even like you more. Yeah.
Wow. And of course, this is all one big lie. It's merely propaganda. I saw the lynching pictures with my own eyes. Those white thugs were lynching people in three-piece suits, and those terrorists who killed them pulled their pants down. So it's always funny when they attack sagging pants, because it was gay Freemason thugs who hung people from trees and pulled their pants down because of racism and not the way they dressed. They even sometimes removed the genitals that they were so jealous of, and you know, that story right there is for another time. That's a story in itself. But this is not the first time Geraldo Rivera, the racist of all races, attacked brown people, real brown people that bigots call black, thanks to the racist, demonic, Freemasonic caste system. We're the real brown people, not these Hispanics who claim to be brown. Remember when Trayvon Martin was murdered by that cop-fighting, woman-beating, attention whore and thug named George Zimmerman? Remember what Geraldo said about Trayvon Martin's hoodie? Geraldo went on the Fox TV show Fox and Friends and said, quote, I think the hoodie is as much responsible for Trayvon Martin's death as George Zimmerman was, end quote. What does Geraldo's obsession with a brown man's pants and his obsession with hooded sweatshirts have in common? A person's physical appearance. He is essentially saying, quote, if you didn't look that way, I'd accept you. Get it? He's snitching on himself. He's admitting he's a racist. Geraldo was accidentally telling you that he judges people solely based off of their physical appearance and not by their character. He is essentially saying appearance determines character, mentality, and ideology, at least in his mind. You know, I may not be half the age of Geraldo, but I am old enough to know exactly who this thug really is. This is the same, quote, news reporter that had fist fights on television in the past, and not very long ago said he, quote, owes Bernie Goldberg a bloody nose. In other words, Geraldo is not the same person he pretends to be. He's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, just like that thug he defended with his life, you know, George Zimmerman. Not only does Geraldo hate so-called blacks and gets paid to talk shit about them, the same goes for Muslims. For example, I watched some of the recent season of Celebrity Apprentice on NBC, which this attention whore thankfully lost. He got his ass whooped by Lisa Gibbons. I mean, she gave this fool mustache trimming. On the show, he used every chance he had to get his racist views across. He kept mentioning the Middle East and Muslims and slipping in insults about them throughout the duration of the programming, keyword programming. And if you don't know already, conservatives pay people, including on the internet, to make up lies, spew hatred, and racism. I have a video and blog coming about that very soon. And, you know, I'll prove this to be true because I have evidence that they're hiring people to do this. Geraldo Rivera is a right-wing pro-military psychological operations propagandist and secret operative. I'm pretty sure he works for Operation Mockingbird, which deals with the news media. Anyway, his whole purpose is to spew racism, anti-black, anti-Muslim rhetoric while diverting attention, focus, money, energy, effort, thought, love, and life from real issues of importance. All while being perceived and believed to be, quote, normal, well-meaning, thoughtful, and a helpful man. In reality, he's a bullshit artist. His message is packaged in a way that you take him seriously, even though he's lying and corrupting people, rather as many people as possible. Just like your military, which I'm 90% convinced he's trained by. But that's not a statistic. In the 1990s, there were conversations, accusations, and conspiracies centered around alleged white men of power, influence, and wealth whose agenda was to destroy poor and underprivileged black men. Guess what? Geraldo was living, breathing proof that these people existed and continue to exist to this day. As a matter of fact, I started working on a series of blogs and videos discussing this anti-rap music movement. And I'm detailing what they did, who they did it to, and why they did it in the first place. And when I say it, I mean this intense, uncalled for, contradicting hatred for rap music. They don't want a young brown man to make money outside of working for them, recreating an industry that does not need them nor give a fuck about them. And here these racist terrorists come to tear it down just like they did Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. All I know is when Geraldo and his filthy mustache finally dies, you so-called black people, specifically so-called hip-hop lovers and listeners, need to make this man's death a fucking holiday. We let that bitch Joan Rivers, who wished death on those innocent Palestinian civilians, die without shitting on her grave. Don't miss the opportunity to say fuck you to Geraldo, the mustache Rivera, when he finally kicks the fucking bucket. You better give this bastard the ha-ha treatment like the conservative media did to Michael Jackson when he died. But this is just how so-called conservatives operate in the media. And Geraldo was no better than that other Fox News asshole John Gibson who blamed the school shooting on hip-hop. When come to find out the school shooter Asa H. Coon was a gothic kid and not a hip-hop kid, was as usual a white boy, just like the other school shootings, he quickly made up a story about how he knew it wasn't a hip-hop shooter because this kid committed suicide, and when a classic hip-hop shooting takes place, the shooter wants to live on to go on to shoot more people. And yes, this bastard really said this and was allowed to remain on the air. I have a video about it posted on my blog. I just wanted to say this in parting. Watch out for my YouTube playlist with my videos and blogs about rap music and the war on rap. It is tentatively titled Meat Magazine Covers the Word, and WORD word is an acronym for War on Rap's Dominance, because rap became the #1 music in America. I will be covering how they plotted the destruction of the music industry, particularly rap, how they monitored it closely right in front of your eyes, payola, how people were paid to make an average record a hit record out of thin air, and so much more. It will truly be something for the record books. I will be dropping jewels of information like you've never seen before. Please don't let yourself get too emotionally wrapped up in Geraldo's bullshit. He's nothing but a shock jock like Howard Stern or any other troll who says and does crazy zany things for ratings. My issues with Geraldo derive from the fact that he has a specific agenda to destroy, harm, and rob so-called black people. But let me stop myself. I will continue to shave his mustache another time when I have time to write and record. I just wanted to leave you with this thought. Geraldo is half Hispanic and he works for Fox, just like Larry Elders, the coon, who I just recently destroyed in a Twitter debate. Anyway, Geraldo's purpose, just like the black devils who work for Fox, is to say things that the so-called white man, quote, can't say. In other words, he's there to attack so-called minorities and Muslims and blame them for anything and everything under the sun. You won't see this punk Geraldo going after the military-industrial complex, the prison industry, and yes, I said industry because the prisoners are modern-day slave laborers, and prison is nothing more than a racist business. And guess who pays these conservative pundits who are nothing but puppets? The same corporations they defend with their lives. That's who. Geraldo was a bulletproof vest, taking a hit for the conservatives he is protecting. He's the Teflon keeping these guys behind the scenes for being scrutinized for these stupid talking points. He's nothing but a bodyguard with a soapbox to stand on. I mean, do you really think that he went off on some stupid tangent about hip-hop for no reason? They weren't even discussing music in the first damn place, so don't be fooled, stay awake. Let me know what you think about it all below. Be sure to subscribe to the Meat Magazine YouTube channel. Visit meatmagazine.blogspot.com for more. Click the link below to take you to this article at the meatmagazine.blogspot.com website. You can see the Geraldo interview for yourself. It's posted there.